Ready? Welcome back to It's Called Football as we preview Matchday 3 of the Premier League. So, some of our fixtures that we are going to see over the coming 3 days are kicking off with Chelsea looking for a chance at setting themselves on the right track against Luton Town. Bournemouth hosting Tottenham, Arsenal in another London derby, this time at home to Fulham. A second London derby as Brentford and Crystal Palace go head-to-head. A relegation battle potentially as Everton face off against Wolves. And moving on into the rest of the fixtures, we'll see Manchester United host Nottingham Forest, West Ham United travel away for a very tough fixture against Brighton. Then on Sunday, we see Burnley host Aston Villa, Sheffield United host Manchester City, and then the big clash of the weekend, Newcastle United at home against Liverpool. Just a little reminder for you as to how the Premier League table looks at the moment. We've got Brighton leading the way with Manchester City and Arsenal also tied with them on points, but behind them on goal difference. You then have a few different sides that are not far behind in terms of points, but given that they've dropped some points already, they have a little bit of work to do to catch up. Brentford have a good chance to keep up with the top three right now by facing Crystal Palace if they can get a win. Liverpool have a tricky fixture. Tottenham should be able to keep pace, while the other sides there in the top 10, it remains to be seen how they fare. The bottom half sees some sides that need to desperately get a win, while others who simply will want to win to move up the table to where they feel they should be. Manchester United in 12th and Chelsea in 15th are two of these sides who will feel they don't belong in the bottom half of the table and will want to try and make a push into the top 4 or 6 spots. Luckily, at this stage of the season, that's still very possible, but they do need to start stringing wins together at this point. Remains to be seen whether they can do that. Luton Town and Burnley have had a week off, given that their fixture against each other last week was postponed, but having kicked off their season in Matchday 1 with a defeat, both of them will be looking to win their respective games. Luton has a much tougher task there, having to travel to Chelsea, but Burnley at home to Aston Villa will likely feel that they have a better chance of getting some points on the board and improving that goal difference of theirs. As mentioned earlier, Wolves sitting in 19th and Everton in 20th feels like a an important clash already, even though we're only on the third match day of the season. Both of them have started quite poorly. In fact, both teams have conceded 5 goals so far in their opening 2 matches, but Wolves have scored 1. They've not had a good start at all. They will want to start getting points on the board. They'll both want to be scoring goals, especially Everton, who are really going to feel the pressure if they manage to go 3 straight fixtures without a goal, which would likely cement them at the bottom of the table. But we shall see what happens. So, the big match of this weekend is arguably Newcastle United against Liverpool. Last season, Newcastle finished in 4th place and Liverpool in 5th. Liverpool had a disappointing season and will feel they should be comfortably in the top 4 spots. Newcastle will want to show that they weren't just a flash in the pan and that they can maintain that level. If they want to do that, they will have to start off by arguably beating Liverpool since Newcastle are at home. It should be pointed out that last season Newcastle played quite well. However, Liverpool did still manage to beat Newcastle home and away. So they do have a tough test on their hands by hosting Liverpool this early, and we'll see how it pans out when they face each other, but you can guarantee that it is going to be a fixture full of excitement, full of fireworks. There's going to be a lot of rivalry and passion on the line in this game. So, some of the big stories that we can hopefully see a little bit of focus on in this match week. As we said, Everton and Wolves, respectively, sitting in 20th and 19th place in the league. They will want to make sure that they are not sitting in those relegation spots at the end of this match week. It is possible that both of them move up from those bottom three spots if they manage a draw. However, obviously, both sides will want a win. A win will propel whichever side gets the victory very far up the table, given that points at this stage can mean a lot of movement. At this point, I think Wolves have looked like the better team overall, although not by far. Everton have looked very, very poor, but Wolves at least have shown some encouraging signs, even in their defeat to Manchester United in Matchday 1. Against Brighton, they looked less good, but maybe this is the time where they bounce back a little bit. Brighton, speaking of them, have had a flying start. The Seagulls have got 8 goals scored so far, conceded 2. They've had 2 4-1 wins, one home, one away. And as they host West Ham United, they won't have it easy in this match day, given that West Ham are coming off a victory against Chelsea. But Brighton themselves will be fully confident in their own ability to fly high and continue keeping pace at the top of the league. We shall see whether that can be the case after this match day, but they have it in them absolutely to keep going and win again. Finally, a big story emerging today is Gabriel Jesus. Arsenal are finally able to call on their main target man, who's been injured since just before the start of the season and required a minor surgery, which kept him out of action for the first couple of weeks. He was back in training today. It might be too soon this weekend to expect him to start the game and play against Fulham for the entire match. However, if Arsenal can have a little bit more of a comfortable match than they have in the last two, there is a slight possibility that we might see Gabriel Jesus make an appearance off the bench in the second half. He is extremely crucial to how Arsenal play their game, and although the substitute striker Eddie Nketiah has deputized very well in Jesus' absence in the first two games, there's no doubt that Gabriel Jesus, Arsenal's number 9, does add a whole new dimension to their attack. So it remains to be seen whether we can see the Brazilian's talents on show again this weekend. But Arsenal will be hoping, if not this weekend, then definitely he should be fit for next weekend's big clash against Manchester United. So, slightly new component to our preview that we thought we'll introduce is our own match predictions here in terms of the score lines for the 10 games that are approaching us this weekend. I think personally, Chelsea, despite the fact that they haven't been too good in the opening matches, they have shown some signs of attacking promise. And based on that, I'm going to say that Chelsea are going to win 2-0 against Luton. Chelsea being at home should help them a little bit in terms of the atmosphere. And Luton having had only one match so far, yes, they'll be well rested going into this game. But I think in terms of quality, Chelsea will have too much for them, even though the Blues have 9 injured players out right now from their squad. They should still have enough quality in the remaining available players to get the victory here. Before we make the next prediction, just a little pointer to any of you that might not be familiar with this. Most of these clubs don't necessarily go by their full name all the time. So if you see some names here that aren't necessarily what you've seen in our other videos or even earlier in this one, we'll try to make the connections for you as we go, but most of them are fairly obvious. Spurs or Tottenham Hotspur, but most commonly referred to as Spurs by the football community. They should be too strong for Bournemouth in this game. Bournemouth did show some decent attacking early on against Liverpool last weekend, and so they might get a goal this time as well, especially given that they're at home. However, Tottenham have looked quite organized and are coming back off a very morale boosting victory against Manchester United, and I expect that Spurs are going to blow Bournemouth away eventually, winning 4-1. Arsenal and Fulham is going to be a little bit tricky. Last season, Arsenal, while they dominated a lot of teams when they were at home, they did also kind of make it a habit of conceding avoidable goals. They didn't have any problem really scoring, but they did start letting in goals at home quite a bit. And although Fulham have lost their striker, I worry that Arsenal's slight defensive problems might continue a little. That being said, their attack shouldn't really struggle too much, as Fulham also have a defender suspended for this game due to getting a red card in the previous weekend's fixture against Brentford. So I'm going with Arsenal to come out of this game winning by 3 goals to 2. Brentford against Palace will be tricky. Palace showed that they're very tough to beat and they don't let in many goals. Brentford, on the other hand, have shown that they can cut open teams and score goals quite well, but they can have a little bit of porousness at the back at times if they're not careful. I am going for Brentford to win this game 2-1. Both sides will score. I just think Brentford will be able to pick Palace open once more than Palace will be able to do. Everton versus Wolves. So far, Everton have shown almost nothing in terms of being able to be creative and break a team down. And when they have managed to get a slight chance here and there, they haven't really had the composure to finish off their opportunities. Wolves haven't been much better, but they were a little unfortunate not to score a couple of their chances against Manchester United. And although they scored against Brighton, overall they weren't too good. Everton is not the same quality as Brighton has been so far, and I expect Wolves to have a little more joy when attacking. So I'm going to go for Wolves to win this one 2-0. Nottingham Forest, most commonly referred to as just Forest in the Premier League right now, travel to Manchester United. Forest actually are sitting above United in the table right now, but United at home generally have a good record, and I think that they will come out of this one winning by a score of 3-1. United do have some players out with injury, some players in key positions, and so I do think Forest will breach their back line at least once to score. But I think United do have enough attacking talent who, if they click well enough, they will score enough to at least get them over the line. Brighton have been very strong. West Ham are running high on adrenaline and momentum right now. But I do think that this is going to be a game where Brighton show their class, and I think they're a level or two above West Ham currently. If West Ham do bring in any more new signings over the remaining week or so of August, then it's possible they'll be stronger over the rest of the league season. But for now, given the players available to both teams, I think Brighton run out 2-0 winners. Burnley and Aston Villa. Usually Aston Villa is just called Villa by fans who have been familiar with these teams for a long time. Burnley and Villa is a very tricky one to predict because I think Burnley do have quality players. They were unfortunate that their only game so far has come against Manchester City, which might have left viewers with a poorer impression of that team than they actually are. Villa also were outclassed against Newcastle, but then bounced back against a very poor Everton side and thrashed them. So it's tricky, and I think it will be a somewhat close game, but I do see Villa edging this match and coming out 2-1 winners. Sheffield United lost their opening match to Crystal Palace and then lost again to Nottingham Forest last weekend. Man City have won both their matches, haven't let in a goal, and I don't see that changing. I do see them winning this one fairly comfortably. not letting in a goal again. They're going to win this one probably around 3-0. And Newcastle and Liverpool is tough. As I said earlier, Liverpool won both matches against Newcastle last season. However, it could be argued that they haven't quite found their groove yet. They're decent in an attacking sense, but defensively, there's still some lapses of concentration. Newcastle have looked very good, and they were unfortunate to lose to a special goal last week to Man City. Other than that, Newcastle held their own quite well, and obviously in the opening weekend, they were dominant against Aston Villa. So I think there's going to be little to separate the two sides by the end, and it will finish in a 2-2 draw. And I think that's where we're going to leave this preview for Matchday 3. We will be back again after the weekend. There is no Monday fixture this time, so the video recapping Matchday 3 will be out on Monday. If you like this one, please make sure you drop a like on the video, or any of the previous ones if you've watched them and enjoyed them. Drop a like, it really means a lot to the channel. And it would help a lot as well if you subscribed and spread the word. See if any fans that you know might be interested in just following along and seeing what we're doing. But hopefully we'll see you and more people very soon. And remember, it's called football.